My journey building bridges. Hello, my name is Eva and welcome to Jones Moans. You know, when someone talks about their journey, they describe their life and the ordeals they've had to endure. We normally hear about other people's journeys through the media. It's normally people who are famous, and because of who they are, you listen to their story and sometimes you buy their book. You think to yourself, here's a famous person, they must have had a real ordeal to justify them relaying the story of their journey. Partway through listening to them or reading their book, you start to realise that this person's journey is not much different from anyone else's. They're just using their fame to either sell a book to make money or as an excuse to justify their bad behaviour, or both. This is where you end up staring either at a book or your TV screen. This is when you realise that when someone is in power and has control over the lives of everyone in the UK, when they make a monumental cock-up, they think they can justify their cock-up by publicly announcing that they've been twanging the knicker elastic of someone else's wife. Splendid. Awesome, as the Americans would say. I'm talking about our ex-health minister. Maybe it's a health minister issue, like when Edwina Currie trashed the UK's poultry industry at the end of her fling with John Major. Maybe it's a good job Edwina Currie was only a junior minister. I wonder if she'd been the main health person, she would have gone on to trash the whole of the UK's farming industry. I wonder if that was the game plan. I'm going to start talking about my journey now. I've started to shout my story to a few people and no one's listened. I shouted at some important people. They have either accused me of warmongering or have called me an idiot, amongst other things. Mostly they've ignored me. Now, I don't mind being called an idiot. I'm sure my mum has my school reports to say the same thing. It's just that I think it's an important point I'm trying to make, which is why I will keep banging on about it. The main thing I want to do is build bridges. Please keep this in mind and listen, please. Écoutez, s'il te plaît, as they say in France. My journey started when President Trump shouted at Boris Johnson in 2019 about allowing Huawei onto the UK 5G network because of security implications. This was a bit of a slap in the face to me. This was a slap in the face because I was working at BT in 2006 when Huawei was first introduced onto the UK network. And one of my responsibilities was network security. However, I said in a meeting that Huawei should not be introduced onto the live network due to security implications, or words to that effect. Before anyone has a touch of vapours over that statement, please bear with me. I am building bridges. I'm not warmongering as everyone else seems to be doing. I'm not going to be finger pointing. I'm not going to name names. I can understand how and why Huawei ended up on the UK network. I just want people to listen. Écoutez. I want other people to understand. And remember, being an idiot is still on the table if it makes you feel better. I was working at BT's research and development site in UK around 2003. I was transferred onto a project called the 21st Century Network, abbreviated to 21CN. This was a major overhaul of the UK networks. I managed a team of cherry-picked experts from across BT. We were the core network team. The core of telecoms network is the same as motorways or A roads on the UK network. The core are the big network bits of the network. At the time, Cisco, an American company, had a monopoly on the core network. My team were primarily Cisco accredited experts. The team was to support a pilot of 21CN. Now, a pilot, what the pilot was the transfer of a small bit of the live network onto the 21CN design. First of all, a bit of information about working with the Americans. They're very much a nation of yes we can people, and when they work with Brits they get frustrated with us turning round and saying no you can't. Most of the time they have railroaded others into agreeing with them. This is why the internet is an insecure pile of poo. I was at a meeting that's my bong bong clock, hurrah. I was at a meeting in 2000 in America somewhere. This was before 21CN. I was representing BT on a joint venture supplying business internet connections between the US and the UK. There was a lot of shouting and pointing with the Americans doing their yes we can stuff. There were about 50 people in the meeting and the project was at the early design stage, and I quietly did the no you can't, and the reaction was a bit like that 1960s film, it was called Village of the Damned, where everyone in the room swung round and stared at me. They didn't question my thinking, as they would say today. They just stared at me for about half a second and then carried on shouting at each other. They probably eventually delivered an insecure pile of poo. I don't know, I was moved on to another project. It was a year or so later that I moved on to 21CN. I'll continue the story in my next video, which will be called No You Can't. Thank you for watching.